What is up, college football fans? What is up, Clemson Tiger fans? Happy Sunday to everybody. You guys know what I say. Every day above ground is a great day as far as I'm concerned, and every day is a great day to be a Clemson Tiger. It is beautiful here in the low country today. You can't beat fall weather in the low country of South Carolina, or in all of South Carolina. But anyway, a lot of good and a lot of bad to take out of yesterday's performance by the Clemson Tigers. At the end of the day, all that really matters is they won 24-20 on the road against Pittsburgh. They stay alive in the ACC hunt. Obviously, they need some help from either SMU or Miami, probably from Miami, or more importantly, from Syracuse to beat Miami. But that's still a few weeks away. Let's focus on now, and let's focus on what happened yesterday. Let's start with the good. Let's try to be a little bit positive today. So let's start with the good, and then we'll finish up with the negativity. So if you're one of the people that only wants to hear good things, then you can listen to the first half of the video, and then you can click off after that and go about your day. But for the rest of us, we see that there's good and bad things about this performance yesterday. A lot. First of all, congratulations to the Clemson special teams unit. More importantly, to Swanson, the punter. Well, I've been giving this guy a hard time all year because he's been deserving it. And the special teams unit as a whole has deserved it. No team in the FBS has had more blocked kicks than Clemson. And I'm not talking about blocking kicks. I'm talking about being blocked, which is a terrible stat. And it's hard to win football games against good teams if you can't kick, period. But Swanson yesterday had his best game of the year. Now, he punted a lot. So, I mean, that's not a good thing if you're punting all the time. But, I mean, he averaged over 40 yards a punt. I think his longest punt was 50 yards. And he actually had better punting stats than the Pittsburgh punter, which is another first, I believe, is having a better punting stat than the opposing team. So shout out to the special teams unit for Clemson on yesterday's above average performance. Keep it up. I got faith in you. Another highlight of the day, Antonio Williams. Man, Antonio Williams is having his career year at Clemson, and it's not even particularly close. He's the veteran receiver on this team. I think he's one of the leaders on the offense, and they use him a lot, and they targeted him a lot, and most of the time he came through. I mean, 150 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. I mean, the guy played great. Without him, his performance yesterday, Clemson might have lost his football game to Pitt. So, huge game from Antonio Williams. A great performance. Defensively, TJ Parker. Holy crap. This guy one-handedly took over that game. 7 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. Or 5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. Something like that. At the end of the day, he balled out. 4 sacks. Clemson had 8 sacks as a team. And Pittsburgh had a good number of sacks too. I believe they combined for 13 sacks between the two teams, which was a lot. Anyway, Parker, he was virtually unblockable. So shout out to him for getting after that quarterback. I'll get to that quarterback for Pittsburgh here in a minute. Also, Barrett Carter. Hey, Barrett Carter's been getting a lot of hell from the fans and the media this year because, coming into the season, Barrett Carter was hyped up to maybe be the best linebacker in the country, or certainly in the conversation for top 3-5 linebackers in the entire nation. And he's had a rough go of it, really, honestly. Yesterday, the leading tackler on the Clemson football team with 12 tackles. He played great yesterday. He was all in the backfield. He was everywhere. So shout out to Barrett Carter. And he had to step up in this game. Wade Woodaz was on the sideline in street clothes before the game, and Sammy Brown got ejected for targeting. I forget what quarter that was. The second quarter, maybe early in the third quarter, whatever it was. So we were running on fumes at the linebacker position yesterday, and Barrett Carter stepped up big time. So shout out to all those guys. Those are all great things. I'm going to give an honorable mention as far as the positivity goes before we ease our way into the negativity. An honorable mention to Cade Klubnik. Look, there's a lot of different opinions about Cade Klubnik. I feel like I'm always defending him for some reason. I don't have to defend Cade Klubnik. His performance this season defends itself. Has he played perfect every game? Is he Cam Ward? No. But I don't know what you expect from this guy. First of all, it was a tale of two halves. He did have a couple of bad plays in the game. I mean, he did not play perfect. I'm not saying that. There's a lot. You got to look at what's going on around him, though. Clemson could not run the ball to save their life. Phil Moffitt had 17 carries for 17 yards. Pittsburgh absolutely sold out. Pittsburgh's game plan defensively going into this game was, we might lose this game to Clemson, but we're not losing it because of number 7. They sold out to stop Phil Moffitt, and they did a good job of it. They did a great job. So tip your cap to Pittsburgh for stopping Phil Moffitt. But one of the reasons Phil Moffitt was such a disaster yesterday, the running game was such a disaster as a whole, is because the offensive line was non-existent. Banged up, lost the offensive lineman on the very first play of the game. Yeah, I mean, Cade Klubnik was running for his life. That fumble that Cade Klubnik had, which was the only turnover of the day for Clemson, was not really even his fault. I mean, his arms cocked back to throw the ball. It was just a good defensive play. Guy knocks it out from behind. That happens. Not every turnover is necessarily an offensive player's fault. Sometimes it's just a good defensive play. Cade Klubnik in the first half, I mean, the guy couldn't miss. Now, the receivers couldn't catch some of the time. I think he had 3 or 4 drop passes in the first half. Still threw for like 75%, 2 touchdowns, 200-something yards. So Cade Klubnik actually absolutely lit it up in the first half. Second half, different story. Second half was hard to watch offensively for Clemson. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't do anything right passing the ball. Either Cade Klubnik would overthrow it or the receiver wouldn't catch it when he did throw it on target. Just another one of those types of situations where they let Pittsburgh get back into the game because they couldn't score. Again, credit goes to Pittsburgh for playing their butts off and making that happen. It's not all Clemson. I mean, you got to give Pittsburgh some credit there too. But yeah, I mean, Cade Klubnik in this offense, it was the tale of two halves, and we've yet to really see against a decent opponent. I mean, against some of the scrub teams that we played after Georgia, you know, from week 2 to whatever week 8, week 7. They played some complete games against really very bad teams that we now know are terrible. But against good competition, they seem to always have one good half and one bad half or one average half. So that is what it is, and that's really the case of most teams in college football. Some bad things. Well, we already talked about one of them. The run game was non-existent, completely non-existent. The passing defense yesterday was the story of the game. They gave up almost 400 yards passing, I think, to Pittsburgh, to their backup quarterback, by the way. This guy's only started 4 games in college. Now, in my opinion, the guy should be the starter going into next season. I don't know anything about him as far as his eligibility going into next year, how much time he has left, if he's going to transfer out and go. So I have none of that. If he's on that team, he's starting next year. This guy's like 6'5", 6'6". He's got an NFL arm. He's got great instincts. Clemson's defensive line yesterday, obviously were getting a lot of pressure because we saw they got 8 sacks. You don't get 8 sacks without getting a lot of pressure. But they were collapsing the pocket, and this guy's ability to navigate the pocket under pressure, surrounded by NFL-type players, is something you don't see a lot in college, especially not from a team like Pittsburgh. No disrespect to Pittsburgh. But this guy had great instincts, would step up in the pocket, didn't get rattled, even though he was getting hit a lot and under pressure on almost every passing play. And he was making plays. So shout out to him. But, man, I talked about this all year. Wide open receivers. And I mean wide open. Just like it seems like every time Clemson makes a good passing play, it's a contested play. You hardly ever see Clemson wide receivers, I mean, just completely wide open with a 5-yard radius around them with nobody there. We saw that 10 times yesterday. They were throwing these Clemson's defense is playing so soft. And this is the difference between a Brent Venables defense and a Wes Goodwin defense. Having a brain fart here. This is the difference. And we've been seeing it all year. And so I don't expect that to change. So the play calling, I know everyone likes to say about play calling. Well, play calling is great whenever the players make the plays, and the play calling is always trash whenever they don't make the plays. Well, that's true probably most of the time. But some of these situations, I still cannot for the life of me, and they've done this several times this year, Clemson has. I can't for the life of me figure out why they try to run Phil Mafah out on the edge. It never works. Not only does it never work, they did it yesterday in a situation on a 4th down. It was like 4th and 3 or something. And they send Mafah out to the edge. Mafah is not an edge rusher. He never has been, and he never will be. He's not Will Shipley. He's not Travis Etienne. He's not C.J. Spiller. He's Phil Mafah. So I don't understand why. Of course, it failed miserably. They lost 3 or 4 yards on the play and had to punt. But I don't understand why they continue to try to use him in a way that he's not capable of running the ball. Honestly, so it just little things like that are extremely frustrating to watch if you're a Clemson fan. So look, they're going to have to. I mean, it's week 12 now. We've got a couple weeks left in the regular season. So this is the time of the year where fans of all different types of teams start thinking about coaching changes. And I'm not talking about Dabo Swinney. I know there's a lot of you out there. I saw it on Twitter. I saw y'all on Twitter yesterday. Oh, Dabo, thanks for your service, but it's time to go. Yeah, I'm not there with y'all on Dabo Swinney yet. But I am there on some of the other assistant coaches. Some of these names we've all been hearing for years. I don't know if Grisham has a naked picture of Dabo Swinney or something, because he might be the number one fan-requested firing for a coach on Clemson's football team. And that's been going on for years. Somehow, he survives the chopping block every single year. And honestly, I don't see that changing this year. I don't know what it is. But Dabo Swinney likes Grisham, and I believe he'll be there next year. Other than that, I saw somebody talking about Mike Reed's one of the best defensive backs coaches in the country. I don't want to hear about it, especially from a recruiting standpoint. Losing Mike Reed would take a big hit for Clemson secondary recruiting-wise. But you guys know the cream always rises to the top. Our buddy Wes Goodwin. You guys already know how I feel about it. I'm not going to go into a whole long 10-minute diatribe trashing Wes Goodwin or anything like that. You guys already know how I feel about it, and I'm just going to leave it at that. You can either agree with me or you can disagree with me. I've seen enough. You've got a Clemson defense that is absolutely loaded with guys that are going to be playing on Sunday. Loaded. They're not playing like it. Not consistently. I mean, when you have that many great players on your defense, of course they're going to have great games because these guys are absolute ballers, like yesterday. When you have an NFL defensive line, every once in a while, no matter how good or badly you're coached, just natural talent, you're going to get 8 sacks in a game. That's going to happen. But my point is, let's just play fantasy here. And of course you can't prove something that didn't happen, even though it kind of did happen for 8 years or 10 years. Put this squad right now, our starting defense in 2024 for Clemson. Switch out the coordinators, Venables and Goodwin. Do you think you see a difference? And if you do think you see a difference, because I think most of you will say that you'll see a difference, how big of a difference do you think you'll see? I think it'll be pretty big. Well, I know this to be true because we had this type of talent almost the entire time that Brent Venables was there, and they never had, outside of the top 50 in total defense. And don't say, well, yeah, but I'm so tired of hearing this shit too. Oh, Pete, well, the rankings are skewed because of all the blowout wins we had. So they didn't play in the fourth quarter. Yeah, the same was true when Brent Venables was there. They still had top 10, top 5, sometimes top 3 defenses nationally every year. So I don't want to hear that. So I'm again, I said I wasn't going to go on a 10-minute diatribe, and now I'm doing it. So yeah, you guys know how I feel about that. Nothing much else less to say. We got the Citadel this week. We're still alive in the ACC with some help from Syracuse and Miami, or Syracuse. And that's the goal right now. The goal right now is to try to find a way to backdoor in the ACC championship and have a chance to win it. I'm not even looking at playoff situations. I know that if you do win the ACC, it comes with a playoff berth. I'm not even thinking about no playoffs right now. It's not even, it's so far in the back of my mind, or things that I care about. The goal right now is to try to win the ACC if you can, but it's not up to you. You don't control your own destiny. Thank you guys for watching. Leave your comment below. Let me know what you think about everything I said. Where do you agree with me? Where do you disagree with me? And make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Have a great day.